Alright, we made it to the last lesson in chapter 2, 2.8. So we're going to start this one out by talking about opposite rays. So that's going to be our first vocab word for, or term for lesson 2.8. So opposite rays, that's when you have two collinear rays. Remember, collinear is when they lie on the same line that have a common endpoint and extend in opposite directions. So looking at this figure right here, the opposite rays in this figure are BA. Remember, when we denote a ray, we have to put a line with just an arrow on one end, and BC are opposite rays. So collinear rays that are in the same line, they have a common endpoint. In this case, point B is the common endpoint, and they go in opposite directions. So BA heading out to the left and BC heading out to the right are opposite rays. They lie in a straight line. Alright, our next term, vocab term, is vertical angles. So, vertical angles, when two lines intersect, two pairs of vertical angles are formed. So what that looks like in a figure is we've got two intersecting lines right here, and angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. Angle 2 and angle 4 are vertical angles. They're angles that are basically across from each other when you have lines that intersect. We call those vertical angles. So can you assume that you have vertical angles? And yes, that is something that we can assume about angles. If you have two lines intersecting, vertical angles will be formed. We don't have to prove it, we can assume that they are vertical angles. So just to kind of go back, let's look at what are the four things that we can assume about angles. This helps us when we do our proofs. First, you can assume a straight angle. Remember, that's just a straight line. You can assume supplementary angles. Those come from your straight angles. You can assume that two angles add together. To make a bigger angle. And you also can assume vertical angles. That's our newest one. Alright, so let's list the pairs of vertical angles. If you have intersecting lines, you're going to have two pairs of vertical angles. So we're looking for the angles that are across from each other. So angle 1 is a vertical angle with angle 3. So angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical. Angle 2 is vertical with angle 4. You can't even tell that that says and, but good thing you guys are listening. So angle 2 and angle 4 are vertical angles. So those are pairs of vertical angles. Now over here it looks like I'm missing some letters. Let's see, this should be an A. Fill this in if you guys don't have this in your notes. A, B, C, D. We've got two intersecting lines, and we want to know what our vertical angles are. So angle ABC, that's this one right there, will be vertical with angle EBD. EBD, that one right there. Those are vertical angles with each other. Alright, another pair, we have angle ABE, that's this one right here, is a vertical pair with angle CBD over there. So you're just looking for angles that are opposite from each other, formed by intersecting lines, and those are vertical angles. And we have this nice little theorem that comes from having vertical angles, and the theorem is that vertical angles are congruent. So this will be very helpful for us. If we have vertical angles, we know that we're going to have a pair of congruent angles every single time.